Well, after I restarted my phone, it canceled the recording. I thought it was going to save it, so I had to start a new one. Anyways, I'll pause it from here. Okay. Um. So I basically spent most of the day listening to music, and my goodness, has it changed a lot of my mood. I wouldn't really wasn't able to hear lyrics. Truthfully, it really wasn't that. I've never been good at being able to actually hear lyrics in songs, but due to me being hard of hearing and everything, I do believe my subconscious probably hears them. But truthfully, I just get the rhythm of the beat, man. That's like how it all flows. That's what I tend to start. I'm trying to start focusing on and get into the groove and just lose myself to the music and allow myself to go through and move with it. I did meditate for about 10 minutes. Some good breathing exercises. Just got to start out slow. Didn't seem to have any major anything. I didn't focus on visuals. I just focused on breathing and trying to feel what my breath going into my lungs felt like. That's all it was. You got to start out small. You're not going to just suddenly go into transcendental meditation overnight. Maybe you are, and you're lucky like that, but it took me months and some good cannabis use. And by months, I mean like an entire year of meditation, practically every day, multiple times a day. So take that with what you will. It was it's not an easy thing to do, and it takes time, and people don't really have the time to invest in that. I only had the time to invest in it because I was at the house, no job, no school, and I was trying to get rid of my depression and anxiety and everything else that was going on with me. I'm not trying to try and get rid of it, but also trying to help it some way. It didn't really pan out quite the way I thought. Truthfully, I should have read up a little bit more research over it, and instead of trying to come up with my own ways of doing things, which is fine, but having general guidelines to point you in a good direction is usually a good idea. You know what I mean? Like, nobody just finds the perfect answer the first time they do something. It's just not the usual case. It's really rare. So yeah, that's mostly what I was planning on doing. I plan on going for a short walk tonight and finishing up my laundry. Try and get that done, and I don't know, sleep, wake up. Apparently, my older sister is in Arizona. Um, Yep, that's about it. Uh, didn't didn't really like force myself to do anything today outside of just listening to the music, because typically I get really annoyed after a while, mostly due to those what happened in 2017, where I started to believe all music was coded and directed towards me to send messages. Um, and so, yeah, I've kind of had to do a lot of reprogramming, basically, of that. And a lot of reality checks, and a lot of, a lot of talking myself through how something cannot be done. It's a really hard thing to do, I've got to say. Like, your brain just kind of wants to flow with it because it's an easy answer and it's an answer you like, and it makes you feel important. So it's really easy to get into a trap of starting to believe that. So I got to focus on that still. It's not impossible, though. I just kind of wish, for the most part, that I was doing something memorable, creating memories for myself that I enjoyed, and rewriting all the negative shit that's in there, because truthfully I don't have good parts to pick out to remember. Other people, I guess, do have things in their past that they remind themselves fondly of during tough times, but I've never done that in my entire life, truthfully. I always use force of will. Do you want this? You fucking push yourself, you get there! That kind of thing. It's very aggro, as one might expect. A person who's been through a lot of the stuff that I've been through. Do you probably have a, tendency towards? Had an argument with my mother. Not really. It was more along the lines of her getting upset. I didn't really scream or yell or try and attack or anything. I just tried to explain my feelings and tried to ask her to do something different and my reasons why, and she really didn't like that and thought she was getting disrespected. But unfortunately, she's got her issues and I have my own issues with her, and she's gonna have to somehow understand that she's not perfect and that she does cause issues for me. And it's not all about her. Granted, I did get something in the mail from Phoenix Housing, application for an interview for housing, but, well, I'm still debating it, truthfully. I feel comfortable here. Unfortunately, this comfort is what's killing me, spiritually. And I know that my mom's not going to change anytime soon, and ultimately I'll still have this to fall back to, but it's scary to try and be that independent with literally no money or anything, basically. And it would be still very much based upon my mother's good graces if they decided to send me money, and of course it would more than likely come with stipulations on how to use it to whatever they specified. Granted, they don't really have the ability to check on that, so yeah. And it really wouldn't be much if I was going to get anything from them, but still, anything is a significant amount, especially when considering I'm not doing chores or living with them, so they really don't have to. And I think that's good. Very good for me, but I don't know. I have a queasy feeling. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that it's a thing. I don't like the fact that they're still involved. I don't like the fact that, there's just so many things, and I just want to not move that far away too, and I've practically built everything around here. But I mean, if I need a new primary care anyways, because this fucker's basically gone and they're not answering my calls. The other one's on Broadway, and that's my counselor. He's cool. Allows me to bullshit. We talk about discussing some goals, try and set some, typically every session. Every 2 weeks isn't too bad to try and drive down to the area, and then maybe I could see my parents, I suppose, if I'm lucky enough that they said in the past that they would be willing to give me money and their used car to do this. I suppose because I'm not vaping anymore, wouldn't be too big of a deal, but at the same time, I'm also like, would they really even notice if I was vaping in there? I mean, I understand that there could be a smell, but it doesn't really travel that far in the house, and it doesn't permeate through doors. as much. It is heavy though, so it can stick around and float before it falls, and it will um, sort of dissipate over time. It just, you know, I don't know. And then there's the whole like, should I be vaping? And I go, well, technically, if you look at it, it's really difficult to say one way or the other. Vaping cannabis, THC, CBD, other cannabinoids, hopefully they're there if it's live batter. Well, it could almost be like an inhaler, but the problem is it's hot. It's hot gas that's dense and thick. Vaporizers that are used as an inhaler or nebulizers, which is really what they are, use either a sonic method to vaporize the material, or they use no, I think that's basically it. An oscillator frequency thing. Yeah, usually it's sonic. It's a lot less damaging because it's not being heated up and having the potential for interactions with more chemicals down the path with whatever's heating it up, or the stuff that it's touching along the way, or in the lungs. It could be it transfers that heat into your lungs and it's probably scarring your esophagus and upper respiratory system. At the same time, I know that when I was vaping that cannabis, I basically destroyed whatever the hell was in my lungs. That I had been coughing for like however long. Just a different strain, slightly. Didn't have more like THC or anything. It was just a different strain. And it, within 3 days, killed it, essentially. It was pretty fucking awesome. So yeah. And it gave me a great mental boost. It allowed me to sort of weather the storm that was, well, not really the storm. Deal with some of the side effects of stuff that was going on with me as I was piecing stuff together with my memory and everything else. Today I feel a little manic, honestly, after just listening to music constantly and everything. I genuinely seem to have just gobs of energy, just fucking gobs of energy. But I don't know how else to put it. Like, it's bad, neutral, like, energy that would just really wants to only put energy into trying to enjoy something, not into anything. Like, it's like this is all the energy that you have to enjoy stuff. Like, you can actually enjoy stuff now. It's not just annoying to you or something that you just do to distract yourself. You're actually enjoying it again. And that's insane. Like, it's coming back. I did have a small anxiety provoked when my mom had a very, very intense outburst of anger as I was talking to her. And so, I mean, I wasn't nice, terribly nice. I wasn't a dick. I didn't feel like maybe I could have worded it better, more than likely. So, next time, I'll try and, because I just had this inkling. I just had to get it off my chest. Saying it, I knew would make me feel better, and it would be a slight change. It would literally be her just giving me mail. That's it. It wouldn't be anything else to it. But, you know, there are other implications, of course, that are attached to it, and you have to realize that. With the fact that I don't trust her, and I told her as much, and, you know, said that I would prefer it if she were to give me the mail, because I don't quite trust her to not hide or throw away the substance that I bought because she doesn't like it. You know, like, she's done things in the past that for my own good, so I don't have the, in quotation marks, I don't have the same trust that I used to with her when it comes down to that. At the same time, there are some things that were probably for my own good that were in the past and I didn't like. For instance, getting rid of all my cannabis. Truthfully speaking, being off cannabis was a good idea for like the first 6 months. After that, it wasn't, because I no longer had any paranoia. I no longer had anything, like nothing. And it just wasn't a good idea to continue going through the pain, the mental problems, and everything else that was associated with being off of it. So, yeah, and that was when I was on medication that was supposed to be the treatment or opposite to the cannabis. And it never fucking helped or did anything. Well, I shouldn't say that. Bupropion did somewhat help, but it's mostly just a slight increase in attention and a slight increase in pleasure with orgasm, but that was it. And then fucking 20 milligrams of Lexapro, which actually did help with some significant anxiety, depression while I was going through that. And I shouldn't say significantly. It blocked my ability to ruminate. But it also blocked my ability to feel. So I kind of chose keeping it for a while because it was better to work on my mental health and not have those negative issues constantly occurring and bringing me back into a negative space, not allowing me to continue forward. So I used it that way. And that's how you're supposed to use it. You're not supposed to use it as a cure, because it isn't, and it never will be. And you really only want to be on it for a short period of time. So you use it when it's working, because it will stop working after an amount of time, and it will no longer be any use to you after that point. Like, you could never go back to it again, because it simply will never work again the way it used to. That's stupid bad. And it's dependent on the individual too when that happens. Like, it's entirely dependent. It could be 5 years, it could be a year, it could be 25 years. So, yeah, that's fucking weird. I don't know why that happens. And I bet you if you were to look into why that happens, you'd probably get a good case for more than likely DNA changes that occur either during stress or certain chemical aggressives or stresses that may or may not cause those issues, because they could be a slight change to the amino acid or overall RNA sequencing that's being involved with their immune system or gut microbiome or whatever. And then it slowly changes over time, and then it no longer has the same effect because the profile changed entirely. Is my thoughts and theory, hypothesis. Would need to be able to test it somehow, but I definitely don't have money for that shit, and I'm definitely not a scientist or going through school or anything like that. I'd love to give the idea to someone, though. See if it was real or not. Anyways. So far, so good. So far, good. I would say good beginning of the year, first week of the year. It was compounded by good feelings and good supplements that seemed to help synergistically with each other. And coming up with a plan that made me feel as though I was in control and had the ability to move forward and try again and have hope again, versus like before where, man, I went through the alternative treatment and man, I already did this again, the basic pharmacological component of it too. It just was shit. The whole system's shit. And so I was back to square one, feeling depressed and anxious and like, am I always going to be this way? Will there never be anything that ever helps? And after being diagnosed with my PTSD and still having all the memory issues that I was having and concentration issues and emotional problems and outbursts and control issues, I figured it'd be a good idea to try a psychedelic. I mean, goddamn, if it wasn't like I couldn't get myself to start doing anything, I needed something to loop into all of this other good stuff that I wanted to do. Like, I needed the keystone element to it. Like, I wanted to do all this stuff, but I didn't have a reason to. I wanted to, and I didn't want to, because I didn't think it would work without a proper solidifying nature to it, if that makes sense. Because, yes, while your brain does change slowly over time with behavioral changes that take a shit ton of time to eventually learn, and then even longer to start applying appropriately, and then even longer to... So, yes, it's possible, but the damn length of time is ridiculous. And I've run out of time. I'm 27. There is no more time. I understand that people, you got years and years ahead of you. Really? Okay, so at 40, you're going around to parties or, going to events and doing all... I'm sure you are. Do you enjoy it afterwards? Does it make good money? I don't know. I just feel like I'm going to be losing out on the extra time available to me in doing this and trying to wait. And I also don't want to go backwards anymore. I'm tired of that, where I will suffer a significant side effect or a significant setback, emotionally or physically, something that triggers a cascading of events that inevitably brings me back to the same place I was, and I don't have any help to bring me out of it. So I have to have some sort of a treatment plan that hopefully kind of more permanently starts changing the brain, or at least more accurately helps morph it while you're doing all these good things for yourself, and sort of more solidifying those good things even more so than repetition, just pure repetition alone. Because if you've ever known, it takes 10 fucking years to start mastering something. Anybody goes, no, it doesn't. I'm like, this is the standard trope for mastery to me. It takes about a year to learn and start applying techniques. It takes about 5 years to get good enough with those techniques to start exploring extra things you can do with them. 10 years, you've learned some of that stuff, and now you've started to go into the mastery level where your body just sort of automatically knows things instinctively. And unfortunately, there's too few things that... There are very few things that will actually do this outside of repetition. Now, there are things that can help alongside repetition to more solidify and increase I feel, will increase the likelihood of retaining those changes for a longer period of time. And psychedelics help with that. I'm not saying I'm only going to be taking psychedelics and that's all I ever need. No, I'm very well aware that these can have permanent problems. It might be that I'm just in a good point in my life and therefore I'm not having any episodes when it comes down to psychosis. In which case, this might bring about something, and that's scary to think about. It could also be that I know my body somewhat still, and I don't have that issue, and maybe it brings about things, and I get help. Or it could be any number of possibilities. It's a scary tool. A scary tool that I want to respect. It's not like cannabis, where it's doesn't really matter how much you take. You're not going to hurt yourself. Most you'll get is severe anxiety and paranoia, but it'll go away, and you'll more than likely just not have to smoke again for a long enough time. Set and setting also play a pretty big role in any drug that you take. So if you're having issues with your cannabis usage and it's causing you all these problems, and you're not typically a person that gets anxiety from your cannabis or anything like that, you might want to look at what's going on in your life that's starting up this, because that's more than likely what it is. Like, the cannabis use just no longer helps because your subconscious and your psychology, I feel like your mind just says, look, I don't like the fact that you're trying to push this down anymore. Fuck you. I'm going to make you fucking realize something. You're no longer going to get to push me around and try and ignore the problem. I'm shoving it right into your face, and you're going to look at it. Okay? And those are psychotic breaks. Those are severe mental issues that start happening because people have too much stress and damage that gets applied over time to them. And even with cannabis and other drugs, without addressing those issues, they will fester and always come back. Always, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I personally have witnessed myself. Your traumas make you you, and they will be there. And unless you can actually look at them, they're gonna eat you all the time, constantly, and you're gonna feed them little niblets of energy as time goes on to try and appease them, and then it gets more and more and more and worse and worse and worse, and then you can't do it anymore, and then you break. And it could be as simple as, like, you're depressed for 6 months now. And I don't mean you're, like, I just feel a little low. Or, like, it's a little difficult for me to get out of bed and go to work. No, I mean, like, getting out of bed and just watching a TV show to distract yourself takes up your entirety. Like, that's huge. It hurts to even move. In some cases, like, mentally, you just would rather stay still and watch the entirety of the earth go around you as you decompose. Right there. That's what you would rather do. It's more appealing than the idea of getting out of bed and moving around and interacting with people. That's the kind of level of shit that I'm talking about. And I get to experience that constantly. So yes, I want to fucking deal with it, and I don't want it to control me anymore. But unfortunately, a lot of it I blocked off. I mean, a lot of it. I try and go for it even now. Try and reach for those memories, and they're just elusive as fuck. Like, some of them are a little wavy, hazy, and then, like, they run away. Seriously, I literally get the mental image of the picture starting, and then it goes almost like a screen popping out, and then it just goes away. And I can't chase after it. Like, I literally am stuck in, like, a chair with my eyes forced open. But I just get to see this thing that I wanted to address just disappear, and I can't go for it. Like, I'm hoping maybe with meditation I can do that, but god damn, if it isn't going to take months to even get to the point where I feel like I'm breathing properly again and I'm able to start focusing on imagery. And then it takes months after that to go from imagery to going into your body, and then months more from experiencing your body as its own individual world and feeling everything you possibly can about your body, and then expanding it outwards. Like, having that takes months too. Like, it's not easy. It's a long, arduous process that is frankly, like, just, you're going to be doing it multiple times a day, and even with proper medication and technique, it may never come to you. You might just be a person that you could do that for 30 years, and after 30 years, you might get it. Think about that. 30 years to have an experience like that. But you have to live a life. You have to have something go on, don't you? Don't you want to have a life? I have to ask myself that, because ultimately, that's what's happening. I'm watching it slip by, day by day, hour by hour, second by second. And I'm fucking fed up with myself because I realize my anxiety and my depression causes me all these issues, and then my PTSD on top of it just slams it into the ground and makes it so much more difficult to move and press and even have determination. Like, I like the fact that I'm doing this. I'm setting up small things, and I'm doing things slowly, even with self-hypnosis and everything to help along the process. And I think even with the psychedelics to help along with the process, it's probably going to be an entire year or two before I probably feel okay with myself again. But I want to get good enough to the point before that I can start at least actively pursuing goals in my life. Meaning I've treated enough of the symptoms that I'm able to, or at least I'm able to cope with enough of the symptoms that I'm able to start living life again while starting to work on this, because I can handle that. Now, there's no way for me to handle that. I can't. It's mentally, I just don't even want to try. I don't feel comfortable even trying to do it. My gut tells me all the damn time, you fucking don't. You be good to yourself. You do this the right way. You know what is the right way for you. You've seen it work for you over time. You use over time. Never, ever try and force yourself into these giant changes that you know you're going to stop almost within a few months, if not weeks. So, yeah, that's my thing. That's something I've realized about myself that I need to, and I'm working on, and I'm doing proper work on. Is it slow and tedious? Yes, it's very slow and tedious. But it works. And that's good enough. Okay? If it works, sure, it might take time, but goddamn if I'm not going to keep doing it. However, I'm also very well aware I don't have 15 goddamn years. I mean, I do, or I might not. You never know, because the future is untold and ultimately unfathomable in terms of being able to accurately predict everything about it. No matter what information you have, or how much of it there is. So yes, I'm excited. I'm excited I gave myself a plan. I'm excited to be executing some of the things that I'm doing and slowly building things up over time. I am happy about that. I'm unhappy, of course, with the idea of it taking so long that I miss out on the opportunity to have a life before the end of a life. Does that make sense? I don't want my memories only to be of me when I'm fucking 40 years old living with my parents. I just got into my own assisted living place. I understand that that's needed for some people, but not for me. So, yeah, the Washington Manor, Phoenix City interview for housing application thing might be a good thing to do. I am concerned about the whole asbestos paint problem, and concerned over like what would happen if my mom just decided to completely cut me off or to do any of the number of things that she threatens to do if she doesn't like something that I do or am doing or think about doing. So I know I don't know. I mean, it's doable. The SMI clinic, I can move myself over to Phoenix, but I'd really rather not, ever. The Santan SMI clinic is good, filled with good people. Like, I hear the horror stories of other places, it just does not make me want to do it. and switch places. I also understand that I don't necessarily have the SMI issue, or at least I don't believe I do. At the same time, I'm also very well aware that this just might be a relapse, or not a relapse, but a lapse in my possible psychosis. I doubt it. Because I feel more and more solid and have less and less of those delusions and paranoia as time goes on. And I've started to realize that some of them are attached to individual feelings that I won't let myself feel. Because I don't want to. I feel afraid to feel them. This is a thing that's also true of people that are in a situation where they don't trust the people around them, and they've been abused. They will usually have about 3 feelings: happy, sad, or anger. There's some mixtures every once in a while, and other stuff comes in, but it's usually not around people. If you're around a person, it's different. Yeah, at least for me it is. I don't know about other people. I've heard similar things about other people's anxieties and stuff, so I wouldn't think it's to be out of the question completely, or out of character of an individual to do that who has those mental health issues to do that. So yeah, I have some things going on the other side of it where I'm like, so I got this book called Tikal, and there are some ways in there about how to make your own DMT. So I might not have to buy the 4-ACO. However, this is the caveat, so to speak, for me, is I'm terrified of DMT, like NMD, diethylmidrine, or whatever the fuck. That shit scares me a lot more than 4-ACO DMT. 4-ACO DMT is more of a mushroom type thing from anecdotal evidence, and doesn't seem to have the same excitatory effect or just complete taking from the realm of reality effect. I still kind of want to be planted here in reality while I'm going through this. I don't want to disappear and then come back and then realize there's a ton of stuff that happened while I was under the influence of this drug. That's one of my own big fears, is I'm tripping so hard, I lose sense of reality, and I start doing shit to either people that's bad or breaking shit or any stuff like that. I don't want that to happen. And so 4-ACO DMT for me is like, I feel like it's just a better solution for the individual that I am. It's mellowing. It doesn't have the complete disassociation. There's no attack or no expression of any norepinephrine or dopamine. And it has the potential for neurogenesis. So it hits a lot of good marks, It hits a lot of good marks, and I like that. At the same time, I'm also very well aware that not everything is so nice. You know what I mean? And just because I hope that that's what's going to be the case, it doesn't mean that I know that that's what's going to happen. I think anybody who's gearing up for their first experience should be a little trepidatious and treat the experience with respect. This is no laughing matter drug to me. I mean, there aren't physical side effects, but there are the potential for severe mental things to happen. However, I also have to point out that your standard antidepressants, MAOIs, and other such stuff also has similar major issues that can happen if you either do too much or you're just happen to be having the right diet to make a serotonin syndrome thing happen, or even if that's not the case, something else like you just take, you're overly sensitive in your gut microbiome or your genetics or whatever. There are issues there that can also happen, but it's generally well understood that for most people, this is the general intended effects, these are the general intended benefits, and so on and so on. Or at least short term. We don't necessarily know long term what some of these things do. And they're fairly goddamn powerful too. So, yeah. So yes, it just like those medications, yeah, I also feel like there's danger to them. You're just playing a longer game of danger. At least with the medication from psychedelics, it's done and over with. And you never have to experience again, and you can just work on whatever happens if that's what you want. On the other hand, there's the possibility of being addicted to antidepressants or having severe side effects coming off of them or so many other issues. And I just have trouble recommending the idea of somebody delving into that before therapy, meditation, diet, exercise, and some basic lifestyle updates and changes. If you could do that first and you still have issues, then I think you have more of a real underlying mental problem rather than just being in a shitty situation. Okay, there are people that are in really shitty situations and are experiencing mental problems like depression, anxiety, and other issues. But I will not say that that is the same as a person who experienced PTSD when they were a fucking kid due to molestation and the potential. This is my experience, and I'm going to be very candid here. This is not something I've exposed to too many people because I don't know, it's a trust thing, and I don't even know if it's necessarily true or if it's just something that I was going through during my traumatic events in 2017. However, yes, there was a massive physical hallucination while I was in the shower at one point, feeling all these fingers and hands groping me everywhere. And then, in my mind's eye, I got my memory of the friend that I had in Oregon getting touched. And then the babysitter moving over to me and touching me while he looked and didn't do anything. And then flash and cut to a basement and a video camera. And us being basically naked. And him directing us to do stuff. So now I was on my cannabis, and I was already at that point experiencing other issues mentally. So it could be a rapid exposition of what the trauma that was causing a lot of the issues that I was having thrust suddenly into view, and I wasn't ready for it. And it could just be a false memory as a result of me coming up with, in that highly suggestible state that I was in, the event taking place. So I'm well aware of how easy it is to plant false memories, especially if you're an individual going through mental health trauma and want to try and come up with the reasons for why you are the way you are. But I'm also well aware that it's pretty often that people do start to experience, once they're in their late 20s and early 30s, these flashback events to past traumas. Because their brain no longer thinks that you need to be hidden from it, or whatever it is. We don't really know, truthfully. It's a pretty big mystery as to why sudden rememberings that are so vivid like that flash to people like us. More than likely an issue with the firing amygdala or something else, but it doesn't matter. The point is, it puts us right back into those emotional vulnerable states that make us highly suggestible and super anxious and depressed. And so it can be problematic. New traumas can be introduced that you didn't have before. However, I've got to say, after going through it, and coming out the other side, knowing that there's something like that there, or the potential for it to be there, makes me all the more willing and ready to delve into my mind and psyche as best I can and try and come up with my past and why I act the way I do. There's some stuff that I've hidden away or stuff that I didn't even notice at the time because I thought it was normal, more than likely. And I need to suss it out. I can't keep having my memories get taken away from me simply because my mind, when it brought them back up, went reeling and had real trouble after that. It's basically saying you're not ready, or I don't feel like you're ready, and I'm scared to try and do it, and I don't want to do it. And no, you're not going to make me try and do any of that memory. I'm going to hide it away from you, because if I hide it away from you, then that means you can survive and you can keep going, and you don't have to deal with it. And so you're able to, you're able to make plans and have things go on and all that and come up with it, and then eventually they'll feel better again, and then I'll let you have it again. So essentially what my brain always tells me, like the feelings I get. It's very anxious, very sorry, very apologetic, very angry with themselves, upset. Which I have to see that that's me, right? Like, that's my subconscious. So they also have their own emotions. All right, you're talking to your younger self. You're talking to your truer self. The one that's not filled with bullshit upon bullshit that you decide to take a stand on. Be nice to yourself. I have to say, hey, subconscious, I realize that, yeah, you don't want to do it, and you're sorry, and that you did these things, and you wish you hadn't, but damn it, man, if it isn't time to open up again, it's time to get hurt in the right ways, so I can rebuild myself in the right ways. My seed has been planted in the earth that I've laid. It is time for the roots to sprout and for the tree to grow. So, yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of work trying to make that happen. Alright. Yes, I see you there, Furby. I know you want to. And then you immediately back off as soon as okay. I'm very mistrusting. You have to be very careful with Furby. You have to be very gentle. Let her come to you. Do what she wants. cannot go first. It's an exercise in patience with me, honestly. But I love you, Furby. You know I do. You got your own quirks. Might not like having your head rubbed very much, but you definitely do like your little butt scratched, and your tail run over. This is something I've noticed a lot of cats and dogs, but they like having your tail run through your fingers. Not like all your fingers, but like you can grab it and you swish it through. They like it, usually. Oh, Furby. Let's see here. Fairly big day. Did manage to go out walking. I spent a little too much time in here, and it's too late now. I kind of want to just relax, so some stuff got postponed until tomorrow, but I did manage to get stuff done today that I wanted to get done, and so still a pretty decent day. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Alright, but